think Star Wars was the sci-fi masterpiece of its era? Pauline Kael didn't. The legendary New Yorker critic, film's most fearless voice, dismissed Lucas's space opera as spare parts with no emotional grip. While everyone lost their minds over Luke Skywalker, Kael was busy championing films that actually mattered. Here are 13 sci-fi classics she ranked higher. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978. Philip Kaufman's remake became Kael's obsession. She called it more sheer fun than any movie I've seen since Carrie and Jaws, and declared it maybe the best movie of its kind ever made. That hyperbolic praise wasn't accidental. She recognized something Lucas missed: emotional stakes. Kael found the film to be an almost perfect intermingling of the physical and the psychological, a horror film that functions as an emotional, humane allegory, while Star Wars felt mechanical. Donald Sutherland's health inspector discovering San Francisco's pod invasion carried genuine human terror. Characters actually felt like people worth caring about, not action figures. The film cost around $6 million, made $25 million globally, and Kael treated it like the second coming. She praised the performances, the atmosphere, and director Kaufman's restraint. She wrote about undiluted pleasure and excitement, and noted the director's confident professionalism that made every spooky moment land perfectly. Meanwhile, her Star Wars review dripped with contempt. She called it exhausting, with no breather in the picture, no lyricism, and complained about the smash-and-grab editing. For Kael, Invasion of the Body Snatchers proved sci-fi could be intelligent without sacrificing entertainment. It respected the audience's intelligence. The irony? When Quentin Tarantino saw 15-year-old Kael defending Invasion of the Body Snatchers on television, refusing to back down from her rave review, he thought, "Who is this wild old woman?" and started reading her books. That's the power of passionate criticism. Kael's Invasion pick influenced a generation of filmmakers who understood character matters more than special effects. Planet of the Apes, 1968. Kael got Planet of the Apes immediately. She called it one of the best science fiction fantasies ever to come out of Hollywood and praised its extraordinary construction. What made this superior to Star Wars? Simple. It used Charlton Heston perfectly. Kael wrote that Heston represents American power, the physical attraction and admiration one feels toward the beauty of strength as well as the moral revulsion one feels toward the ugliness of violence. The film wasn't just adventure. It was commentary wrapped in entertainment, something Star Wars forgot completely. She understood the deeper game. Planet of the Apes worked as an enormous, many-layered black joke on the hero and the audience, while Star Wars played everything straight. The ape makeup, Kim Hunter's performance, the whole twisted concept clicked because it had purpose beyond spectacle. The film's budget was around $6 million. It became a cultural phenomenon, spawning sequels and inspiring decades of imitation. But Kael wasn't impressed by success alone. She noted that what seemed to be weaknesses or holes in the idea turned out to be perfectly consistent, and praised the tight pacing that kept audiences engaged without insulting their intelligence. Star Wars, by contrast, felt calculated. Kael complained it was totally uninterested in anything that doesn't connect with the mass audience, and called it an assemblage of spare parts. Planet of the Apes earned its shocks through character development and social commentary. Every twist served the story's themes about humanity, civilization, and power. Franklin Schaffner's direction utilized Heston's screen presence to maximum effect. The film worked on multiple levels simultaneously. Star Wars was just noise. The Time Machine, 1960. George Pal's adaptation of H.G. Wells became a touchstone for thoughtful sci-fi, and Kael recognized its intelligence early. She noted that Planet of the Apes most closely resembles George Pal's 1960 version of H.G. Wells' 1895 novel The Time Machine, using it as the gold standard for cerebral science fiction storytelling. Rod Taylor's Victorian inventor traveling through time to discover humanity's dark future carried genuine philosophical weight. The Eloi and Morlocks weren't just monsters, they represented class warfare and social evolution taken to horrifying extremes. Every special effect served the story's deeper themes about progress, civilization, and human nature. The film cost under $1 million, but created something timeless through imagination rather than budget. Pal's Oscar-winning effects work proved you could create wonder without breaking the bank. The time machine itself became iconic through clever design and storytelling, not expensive spectacle. Kael valued films that trusted their audience. The Time Machine presented complex ideas about social decay, technological advancement, and human responsibility without dumbing anything down. Taylor's performance grounded the fantastic elements in recognizable emotions. You believed his horror at discovering what humanity became. Star Wars felt like regression by comparison. Where The Time Machine explored serious themes, Star Wars offered bad movies aesthetics, with clunky enthusiasm polished at the Ricky Nelson School of Acting. Lucas created a universe that looked backward instead of forward, recycling old serials without adding meaningful commentary. Pal understood that great science fiction uses the future to examine the present. His film worked as adventure and social criticism simultaneously. The Time Machine earned its place in cinema history by respecting both genre conventions and audience intelligence. It proved sci-fi could be fun without being stupid, imaginative without being empty. Forbidden Planet, 1956. MGM's expensive Shakespeare adaptation, In Space, earned Kael's respect for its ambitious scope and psychological depth. She mentioned it alongside Planet of the Apes as an example of thoughtful science fiction that perhaps more cleverly sustained its central concepts than most genre entries. Walter Pidgeon's Dr. Morbius, Anne Francis's Altera, and the invisible id monster created a Freudian nightmare wrapped in space adventure. The film cost nearly $2 million, massive for 1956, but every dollar showed on screen. The painted backdrops, Robbie the Robot's design, and the electronic score created an alien world that felt genuinely otherworldly. What impressed Kael was the film's psychological sophistication. Forbidden Planet didn't just feature monsters, it explored how human consciousness creates them. The id's manifestation of Morbius's repressed desires offered genuine horror rooted in character psychology rather than cheap thrills. The Krell civilization's self-destruction through technological advancement provided sobering commentary about scientific progress without moral development. These themes resonated with post-war anxieties about atomic power and human nature. The film trusted audiences to grasp complex ideas about civilization, technology, and the unconscious mind. Star Wars abandoned this intellectual tradition entirely. Lucas created what Kael called a film that's totally uninterested in anything that doesn't connect with the mass audience. Where Forbidden Planet challenged viewers with difficult concepts, Star Wars offered simple, good versus evil morality. Forbidden Planet influenced decades of thoughtful sci-fi filmmaking. Filmmakers like Kubrick and Tarkovsky understood its lessons about using genre elements to explore serious themes. The film proved expensive special effects meant nothing without intelligent scripts and committed performances. It earned classic status by treating science fiction as legitimate storytelling rather than juvenile escapism. King Kong, 1933. Kael noted that Planet of the Apes. At times, it has the primitive force of old King Kong, using the 1933 masterpiece as her benchmark for visceral entertainment that actually worked. She understood what made Kong special. It committed completely to its outrageous premise. Fay Wray's Ann Darrow and the Giant Ape created genuine emotion through technical innovation and pure filmmaking audacity. The stop-motion animation, miniature sets, and rear projection shouldn't have worked, but Willis O'Brien's effects team made every impossible moment feel real. Kong's rampage through Manhattan became cinema's first great monster movie by treating its creature as a character, not just a threat. The film cost under $700,000 but revolutionized cinema through imagination and craftsmanship. RKO's investment in O'Brien's vision created something unprecedented, a monster with emotional depth. Kong's relationship with Anne transcended simple beauty and beast dynamics to explore themes of exploitation, civilization versus nature, and the cost of spectacle. Kael respected Kong's primal power. The film didn't apologize for its melodrama or explain away its fantastic elements. Directors Marion Cooper and Ernest Schoedsack understood that great genre filmmaking requires total commitment. Every frame sold the illusion that a giant ape could exist and feel. Star Wars lacked this conviction. Kael criticized its assemblage of spare parts approach that never achieved emotional unity. Where Kong created genuine wonder through innovative technique and storytelling commitment, Star Wars felt calculated and artificial. King Kong influenced every monster movie that followed, from Godzilla to Jurassic Park. It proved special effects serve story, not the other way around. The film's enduring power comes from its emotional core. Kong's tragic fate resonates because the filmmakers made audiences care about an impossible creature. That's real movie magic. Fantastic Voyage, 1966. Richard Fleischer's miniaturization adventure impressed Kael with its commitment to scientific wonder and human drama. The film's premise of shrinking a medical team to microscopic size for internal surgery pushed special effects technology while maintaining focus on character relationships and genuine stakes. Raquel Welch, Stephen Boyd, and Donald Pleasance's submarine crew navigating the human body created spectacular visuals through practical effects and imaginative art direction. The cardiovascular sequences, brain exploration, and white blood cell attacks achieved genuine otherworldliness through detailed miniature work and clever cinematography. 20th Century Fox invested over $5 million in the production, creating elaborate sets representing internal organs and biological processes. The Oscar-winning art direction transformed medical textbook illustrations into immersive environments. Every fantastic element felt grounded in actual science, making the impossible seem plausible. Kael valued the film's educational ambitions alongside its entertainment value. Fantastic Voyage didn't just show spectacular sights, it taught audiences about human anatomy and medical procedures. The screenplay balanced scientific exposition with character conflict and genuine suspense about the mission's success. The film sparked interest in medical science and inspired actual research into miniaturization technology. Its influence extended beyond cinema into education and scientific funding. Fantastic Voyage proved science fiction could be both spectacular and informative without sacrificing either goal. Star Wars offered no such intellectual stimulation. Kael complained about its relentless pacing that drive every idea from your head and its complete lack of educational value. Where Fantastic Voyage expanded viewers' understanding of science and medicine, Star Wars dumbed everything down to simple adventure tropes. Fleischer's direction balanced spectacle with storytelling sophistication. The film earned classic status by treating its audience as intelligent viewers capable of learning while being entertained. That respect for viewer intelligence made all the difference. The Day the Earth Stood Still, 1951. Robert Wise's Cold War masterpiece earned critical respect for its mature approach to science fiction themes. While other 1950s sci-fi films featured bug-eyed monsters, The Day the Earth Stood Still offered sophisticated commentary on nuclear proliferation, international cooperation, and humanity's capacity for wisdom or destruction. Michael Rennie's Klaatu and Gort the Robot delivered an ultimatum to Earth with genuine gravitas. The film's religious allegories, peace message, and philosophical depth distinguished it from typical genre fare. Screenwriter Edmund North adapted Harry Bates's story into thoughtful drama that trusted audiences to engage with complex ideas about war, peace, and human nature. 20th Century Fox supported the production despite its controversial themes. The film's $1.2 million budget created impressive effects through intelligent design rather than expensive spectacle. Bernard Herrmann's theremin-heavy score became iconic, establishing the sound of electronic science fiction music for decades. Patricia Neal's relationship with Klaatu provided emotional grounding for the film's larger themes. Their romance subplot never overwhelmed the philosophical content, but humanized the alien visitor's mission. The film balanced intimate character moments with cosmic implications perfectly. Kael respected films that used genre elements to explore serious contemporary issues. The Day the Earth Stood Still addressed nuclear anxiety, international relations, and moral responsibility during the height of Cold War tensions. It proved science fiction could function as legitimate social commentary. Star Wars ignored this tradition completely. Where The Day the Earth Stood Still challenged audiences to consider difficult questions about war and peace, Star Wars offered what Kael called bad movies, aesthetics with recycled serial adventure cliches. Wise's direction maintained consistent tone throughout, never mocking its premise or apologizing for its message. The film earned lasting influence by treating science fiction as a vehicle for meaningful dialogue about humanity's future. Alphaville, 1965. Jean-Luc Godard's dystopian masterpiece represented everything Kael valued in intelligent filmmaking: intellectual ambition, visual innovation, and complete artistic commitment. Shot entirely in contemporary Paris locations, Alphaville created a future society through clever use of modern architecture and electronic music rather than expensive sets. Eddie Constantine's Lemmy Caution, investigating the totalitarian computer-controlled city, offered noir thrills alongside philosophical investigation. Godard's script explored themes of emotion versus logic, individual freedom against systemic control, and the dehumanizing effects of technology. The film functioned as both genre entertainment and serious political commentary. Anna Karenina's Natascha von Braun provided emotional center as a woman rediscovering feeling in a society that banned emotion. Her awakening to love and poetry demonstrated cinema's power to explore complex ideas through simple human relationships. Every scene balanced intellectual content with cinematic excitement. The film cost virtually nothing but achieved more innovation than big-budget productions. Godard proved imagination mattered more than resources. His use of existing locations, natural lighting, and documentary-style cinematography created an authentic future world without traditional sci-fi trappings. Kael championed Godard throughout the 1960s, recognizing his revolutionary approach to cinema language. She wrote about his rashness and speed and flamboyance of his complexity, and noted that other filmmakers see his innovations and love it. Alphaville demonstrated how avant-garde techniques could enhance rather than obscure storytelling. Star Wars represented everything Godard rejected: expensive spectacle over intellectual content, simple morality instead of complex philosophy, and commercial calculation rather than artistic risk. Where Alphaville challenged viewers to think differently about cinema and society, Star Wars offered what Kael dismissed as taking a pack of kids to the circus. Godard's influence shaped art cinema for decades. Alphaville proved science fiction could be revolutionary in form and content simultaneously. Barbarella, 1968. Roger Vadim's space-age fantasy earned Kael's appreciation for its unashamed embrace of cinematic excess and visual imagination. Based on Jean-Claude Forest's comic strip, Barbarella created a psychedelic future that prioritized style, humor, and sensual pleasure over conventional storytelling logic. Jane Fonda's intergalactic adventurer navigating the 41st century offered pure cinematic indulgence. The film's elaborate costumes, bizarre set designs, and outrageous scenarios created a unique aesthetic that influenced fashion, design, and cinema for decades. Every frame celebrated visual excess and imaginative freedom. Paramount invested heavily in production design, creating elaborate fantasy environments that looked like nothing else in cinema. The film's combination of camp humor, science fiction elements, and Art Nouveau influences resulted in something genuinely original. Barbarella's adventures felt like animated comic books brought to vivid life. Kael valued films that committed completely to their own internal logic, however bizarre. Barbarella never apologized for its outrageous premise or attempted realistic explanations. Vadim's direction embraced pure fantasy, creating a world where anything could happen, and usually did. The film's influence extended beyond cinema, into fashion, music, and popular culture. Its psychedelic aesthetic captured late 1960s counterculture spirit while creating timeless visual innovation. Barbarella proved genre films could be artistically ambitious without sacrificing entertainment value. Star Wars felt conservative by comparison. Where Barbarella celebrated sexual freedom and visual experimentation, Star Wars offered what Kael called high school cheerleader princess-in-distress characters with conventional moral frameworks. Lucas's universe felt restrictive and morally simplistic. Vadim understood that great fantasy requires complete artistic commitment. Barbarella achieved cult status by refusing to compromise its outrageous vision. The film's enduring influence proves audiences appreciate genuine originality over calculated mass appeal. That artistic courage made all the difference. Solaris, 1772. Andrei Tarkovsky's philosophical masterpiece represented the pinnacle of thoughtful science fiction cinema. While American films focused on adventure and spectacle, Solaris explored consciousness, memory, and human identity through deliberately paced, visually stunning storytelling that challenged conventional genre expectations. Donatas Banionis's psychologist Chris Kelvin, investigating the sentient ocean planet, encountered psychological rather than physical dangers. The planet's ability to materialize human memories forced characters to confront their deepest guilt, love, and regret. Tarkovsky transformed sci-fi tropes into profound meditation on what makes us human. Soviet film industry support allowed Tarkovsky complete artistic freedom to create his 3-hour vision. The film's minimal special effects, extended takes, and contemplative pacing created genuine otherworldliness through psychological atmosphere rather than expensive technology. Every image served the film's philosophical investigation. Natalia Bondarchuk's Hari, materialized from Kelvin's memories of his deceased wife, embodied the film's central questions about reality, identity, and love. Her tragic existence as both real person and alien creation provided emotional weight for abstract philosophical concepts. The performance grounded cosmic themes in recognizable human emotion. Kael respected directors who used cinema's unique properties to explore ideas impossible in other mediums. Solaris demonstrated how genre elements could serve serious artistic purposes. Tarkovsky's achievement influenced international art cinema and established new possibilities for science fiction storytelling. Star Wars abandoned this intellectual tradition entirely. Where Solaris demanded contemplation and engagement, Star Wars provided what Kael called exhausting entertainment that left every idea from your head. Tarkovsky created cinema that expanded consciousness. Lucas offered mental cotton candy. The film's influence on filmmakers like Kubrick, Malick, and Villeneuve proves its lasting significance. Solaris achieved something Star Wars never attempted, using science fiction to examine the deepest questions about human existence and consciousness. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, 1920. Robert Wayne's silent expressionist masterpiece established science fiction cinema's artistic potential decades before the genre became popular. The film's twisted narrative about a hypnotist using a sleepwalker to commit murders created psychological horror through purely visual storytelling and innovative production design. Werner Krauss's Dr. Caligari and Conrad Veidt's Cesare inhabited a distorted world of sharp angles, painted shadows, and impossible architecture. The expressionist sets, created by Hermann Worm, Walter Reimann, and Walter Ruhrig, transformed studio space into nightmarish dreamscapes that reflected characters' psychological states. UFA Studio supported this experimental production despite its radical departure from conventional filmmaking. The painted sets, stylized performances, and twisted narrative structure influenced decades of horror and science fiction cinema. Every frame demonstrated cinema's power to create impossible worlds through imagination alone. The film's twist ending, revealing the story as a madman's delusion, added psychological complexity to simple horror premises. This narrative innovation influenced countless later films exploring reality, madness, and perception. Caligari proved genre cinema could be intellectually sophisticated and artistically ambitious. Kael understood that cinema's greatest achievements often came from experimental approaches to familiar material. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari established visual techniques still used in contemporary filmmaking. Its influence on directors from Hitchcock to Burton demonstrates enduring artistic significance. Star Wars represented everything Caligari rejected: conventional storytelling over experimental innovation, expensive technology instead of imaginative artistry, and commercial calculation rather than creative risk. Where Caligari created genuine otherworldliness through artistic vision, Star Wars offered what Kael called a box of Cracker Jack which is all prizes without lasting nutritional value. German Expressionism proved genre films could be high art. Caligari's achievement inspired art cinema movements worldwide. The film demonstrated that science fiction and horror could explore serious themes about consciousness, reality, and social authority through purely cinematic means. Metropolis, 1927. Fritz Lang's epic vision of future society represented cinema's highest aspirations, combining spectacular visual innovation with serious social commentary. The film's massive sets, elaborate special effects, and allegorical story about class warfare demonstrated science fiction's potential to address contemporary political issues through fantastic scenarios. Brigitte Helm's dual performance as Maria and her robot double-created cinema's most iconic android while exploring themes of authenticity, manipulation, and social control. Gustav Fröhlich's Freder, discovering the underground workers' plight, provided emotional connection to the film's broader political themes. Every character served the story's examination of industrialization's human costs. UFA's enormous investment created unprecedented spectacle through innovative techniques still studied today. The miniature effects, crowd scenes, and architectural designs influenced science fiction cinema for decades. Lang's vision of future city design shaped actual urban planning and architectural theory. The film's political allegory about workers versus industrialists reflected Weimar Germany's social tensions while creating timeless commentary about economic inequality. Metropolis proved genre cinema could function as serious political art without sacrificing entertainment value. Its influence extended beyond cinema into architecture, fashion, and political discourse. Kael valued films that used spectacle to serve meaningful content rather than replacing it. Metropolis achieved both goals simultaneously, creating visual wonder while exploring complex social issues. The film's restoration projects demonstrate its continued relevance and artistic significance. Star Wars offered spectacle without substance. Where Metropolis examined serious themes about labor, technology, and social justice, Star Wars provided what Kael called entertainment, totally uninterested in anything that doesn't connect with the mass audience. Lang created lasting art. Lucas manufactured temporary distraction. The film's influence on science fiction cinema proves its foundational importance. Metropolis established visual and thematic templates still used today. It demonstrated that genre filmmaking could achieve artistic immortality through ambitious vision and social relevance. Things to Come, 1936. William Cameron Menzies' adaptation of H.G. Wells's vision of humanity's future impressed Kael with its scope, intelligence, and genuine optimism about scientific progress. Unlike typical dystopian sci-fi, Things to Come offered hope that technology could improve human civilization if guided by wisdom and international cooperation. Raymond Massey's multiple roles spanning decades showed humanity's evolution from war-torn 1940 through rebuilding periods to the space-traveling 2036. Wells's screenplay, adapted from his own novel, provided serious speculation about technological development, social organization, and human potential. The film treated science fiction as legitimate futurism rather than mere entertainment. London Film Productions invested heavily in elaborate sets, costumes, and special effects that created convincing future environments. The production design influenced everything from architecture to fashion. Arthur Bliss's orchestral score enhanced the film's epic scope while maintaining intimate human focus. The film's optimistic vision contrasted sharply with contemporary anxieties about war and economic depression. Wells's belief in scientific progress and international cooperation offered hope during uncertain times. Things to Come proved science fiction could inspire as well as warn, educate, as well as entertain. Kael respected films that trusted audiences to engage with complex ideas about society, technology, and human development. The movie's ambitious timeline and philosophical content demanded intellectual participation rather than passive consumption. Every sequence served the larger argument about civilization's potential for growth. Star Wars abandoned this educational tradition completely. Where Things to Come challenged viewers to consider humanity's future seriously, Star Wars offered what Kael dismissed as simple bad movies aesthetics, recycled from old serials. Wells created genuine speculation. Lucas provided nostalgic escapism. The film's influence on science fiction literature and cinema demonstrates its lasting significance. Things to Come established optimistic futurism as legitimate genre territory. It proved that science fiction could inspire progressive social change through imaginative storytelling. Kael's sci-fi picks prove one thing: she valued brains over budget, ideas over effects. While Star Wars dominated box offices, these films challenged audiences, explored real themes, and trusted viewers' intelligence. From Invasion of the Body Snatchers' paranoid perfection to Solaris's philosophical depth, each movie earned its place through artistic merit rather than marketing campaigns. So what made these films superior to Star Wars in Kael's eyes? They respected cinema as art, not just product. They demanded something from audiences beyond passive consumption. Which of Kael's choices do you think holds up best today? And was she completely wrong about Star Wars, or did she see something we missed?